For the second part of the exercise 2A, we are going to cover a few more tutorials and then get you familiarized with Photoshop tools, basic tools for product designer. Okay. Tutorial 8. Let's say, for example, you do not have a scanner at home. How do you then get this sort of image of a sketch and then whitewash background? Okay. So take for example, you want this sort of effect. You can still manage to do it with an image capture from your phone. Just make sure when you take an image with your phone, try to avoid getting your shadow on top. Okay. Maybe if your shadow is slightly at the bottom here, it's fine. You can still crop it out. Try to avoid too much shadow, especially on the sketch itself. It might be a little bit difficult to so-called blend it off. Okay. So we will cover 4 tools here: brightness, level, curve, exposure, hue, saturation, color, fill. Yep. Yep. Tutorial 9 itself, let's say for example, you take a photo. Alright, you crop it somewhere. But the photo is too dull. How then can you make it come alive by adjusting the tonal values? Additional thing that I will cover inside here are masking and link layers. The next one, let's say for example, you take a photo inside studio or at home. How do you then crop it up and then whitewash it, adjust certain tonal values to make it look like a product shot good enough for your e-commerce website? Similar to this. Alright. It may look dull when you shoot with your phone because of the lighting and all. How then can you save it inside Photoshop? Tutorial 10 itself will play a lot on your masking so-called skill. Alright, how do you mask this chameleon in a way that it can blend with the background? I'm also covering layer styles inside here. Okay, the next one, tutorial 11, we will cover transform, clone, color balance, dodge, burn. It's a tutorial from design tools which is used quite widely in other design schools also, or other, let's say for example, Photoshop beginners tutorial. Because why? It covers the very basic fundamental of how to morph uh, a photo to another photo. Just make sure when you want to morph photos, right, they are looking at the same angle, the perspective. If not, try to tweak it. All right. The next one, make sure, let's say for example, you are able to morph the skin tone quite close. All right. Imagine, let's say for example, uh, this is a feather, this is a scale. It would then be slightly too hard. You might want to find something complementing. Okay, that's all. Make sure you go inside the blackboard system and then download the images. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 images for chameleon, 2 images for the croc and frog. Open up your Photoshop. Okay, so let's bring in drawing. You can either open from here or drag and drop. Simple as that. So let's say for example we start with this. Okay, let's go back to here again. Oops. Hue and saturation. Let's cover hue and saturation first. Hue and saturation. Control U. Okay, Control U for Ukraine. When you click Control U for Ukraine, you will get this hue and saturation. Inside here itself, you can adjust, let's say for example, certain preset. Alright, but normally I will leave it as default. You can also adjust specific colors such as red tone, yellow tone, green, etc. But I will leave it as master because we want to edit the whole image. You can also use it, let's say for example, using this eyedropper so-called picker, right? If you can see, click and drag an image to modify the saturation. Meaning, let's say for example, if I click here, right, can I then adjust the saturation to be lower? See here, or can I pick and then adjust the saturation to be higher? Okay, so that is what the tool does. Let me just undo. Okay, wait. Let me just bring back to 0. So in this image, right, there is certain beige about this image. So what we can do, right, we can adjust saturation. Okay, let me just cover what hue does. What hue does, right, let me open this up so that you can see what hue does, right. It will change the color. So let's say for example I have a green frog. Maybe a green frog looks like this, right? I want to tweak it to look pink. I can switch my hue to get a pink frog. All right, let me just switch this back to 0. What hue does, right, it will desaturate the color, and then you get, let's say, grayscale color. Lightness will adjust the overall brightness. Okay, oops, sorry, I should change to master. Okay, saturation down. Okay, lightness, can you see? If it's under master, right, it will switch the yellow all the way, sorry, it will switch the background, the whole image, all the way down to the darkest value or the lightest value. Let's say for example, if it's just not the yellow, it will then adjust yellow accordingly. This is your yellow scale here. Okay, but let's just leave as master for now. It's as a starter to learn. Okay, so now that I have covered hue and saturation, let's adjust brightness, level, curve, exposure. Okay, where can you find such tools? Let me just show you. Okay, it's inside here, new adjustment layer. These are the four: brightness, level, curve, exposure, or inside here itself. Oops. There, brightness, contrast, level, curve, exposure. So what it does, right? Let's say brightness and contrast, which is here. It will then adjust the brightness and then contrast accordingly. Let's say for example, if it doesn't work for this image here, right? You can click the eye symbol here to see. Let's say if it doesn't help, let's just delete it. Okay, so that one adjusts brightness and contrast levels. What level does, right, which is here, it will give you whatever is slightly higher in this peak will give you a high key photography version, more of the light value. A higher peak here, right, will give you a low key photography. Sorry, low key photography. So let's say for example I want slightly lighter, right, background. I can push slightly here to get to the peak there. Okay, I want much more black tones for my sketching. Can you see? So now my black, right, is much more higher. Then my mid-tone, right, let's say for example my mid-tone, I push it too much here, right, nothing. I push it slightly higher here. Okay, so let's say for example I switch off. Can you see the difference here? Okay, let's open up a new layer. Let's just bring it. Okay, hold on, yeah. Cancel. If you can see just now, I double click, right? I unlock the layer. So let's take this image, Control T, T for transform, scale it down. Let's drop a, okay, pin bucket. Let's drop, cancel. Notice here, right? I press X. Sorry, I press D, right? D will give me a default color, black and white. I press X, it will inverse. And then I press G, right? G for gradient. But I don't want gradient, I want pin bucket. Alright, change to pin bucket, sorry. And then drop white. So again, let's say for example, I'm in a red color here. I want to change to default color mode. D for default. Alright, can you see? And then I want to switch the color. I can press X. Alright, to inverse it. Okay, so now that I have a white, oops, hold on. Notice what I did wrong here. I paste the white on top of the sketch. Let me switch this, double click and then change the name. And then drop the pin inside here, which is background. Okay, inside sketch here itself, can you see it's still not white? So what can we do, right? Let's click on our level. Can we then push it slightly more? Can you see? So now the background here, right? Before it was like that. when I switch on my levels, right, now it blends really well with my white background. Okay, so save this, and then you are done for this assignment, meaning now you already know how to take a photo, bring inside Photoshop, right, adjust either brightness, contrast, or level itself to get a whitewash background. Okay, let me just see what other two. Okay, so just a level, right? Let me just, before I cover the next image, let me cover what does curve do. What curve does, right, if you see from here, can you see? So right now it's trying to tweak the image according to the lightness value and the darker value here. A good rule of thumb, right, is always to keep a S. This one will take some time for you to master and then understand the relationship between light and dark. Alright, so let me just throw this out. The next tool, right, which is exposure, similar to your uh, camera photography. What exposure does? Lower exposure, higher exposure. The more higher exposure you go, right, can you then, let's say for example, offset a bit and then get it higher, offset a bit more so that you can get more of the sketch, and then increase. Okay, let me just lower it. Okay, so you can play with gamma correction, offset, exposure, etc. to get a similar type of effect depending um, on your preference. Okay, for me, a levels do just as fine. Okay, another shortcut button for you to take note. Let's say for example you want levels, right? Is Control L. L for level, right? You can adjust directly here. It's the same thing as what we have here. Control U for Ukraine just now give you hue and saturation, right? So those are some helpful shortcut tools. Let me close this. Make sure to save. Okay, the next one, watches. So now you have a watch before, after. How do we get the before as close as to the after? Slightly better tonal value. The face is brightened up. The gold, right, doesn't look too fade. Okay, you can see the metallic effect. It's quite nice. Okay, how we do that? Okay, maybe the first thing that you want to do, always as a good practice, is to duplicate into a new layer. How do you do that? Control J for Maker, and then it will directly copy paste into a new layer. The next one, right, what we can do is that we take the marquee tool, which is here. Now we want to adjust. Okay, we just want to adjust this, right? This is what we do not need, because why? Let's say for example we keep adjusting the layers, right, it might get confusing. So let's just delete this off. Let's just switch this on again because we can't adjust anything here, right? So let's adjust this first. Looking at the picture, right, maybe the first thing that you want to adjust, do you want to adjust the um, hue and saturation? Not really, right? Because why? The color is about there. Maybe later on you need to tweak the yellow slightly off. So so let's say for example for now, let's play with levels. All right. I use a lot levels, yeah. Okay, so let's say for example we bring this up. Okay, notice when we bring this up, right, it affect the whole entire image, meaning here and here, right? Even though we switch off this, it still shows here. So if we want this to affect only layer 1, right? Notice when I press alternate, right? I press alternate, I hover close to the center line here. Notice that button? Okay, once I press, take a look at what happened to the screen. You saw what happened? So right now, it adjusts only the layer directly below. Alright, so right now let's go back to the, oops, sorry, let me just press this again, alternate. You can see this small arrow here, right? I press again, so now it's not linked. This thing here, right, is called the link layers. Alright, so within these link layers, right, I can come back here. Oops, sorry, this is masking. I can come back here and then I can adjust the levels. Do not click this, right? This is masking. Let's just delete because we do not want any masking. Let's just adjust the curve for now. Okay. It takes some time. So let's say, for example, just do a quick eyeball. You want to get the highlights correct first. Let's say, for example, that is just about right. What can you do next? Let's say, for example, here is too orangey. Can we then take this layer? You remember just now hue and saturation, which is Control U for Ukraine. Can we then adjust it? Let's say slightly yellower. Can you see what happened? Okay, so right now eyeball it a little bit. Okay, it takes some time for you to get. Okay, so the next one, let's say for example, just now we tried the the hue and saturation, right? Let's say for example we take out curves. Okay, let's try to adjust the curve. Does it help? If it's too hard, right? My recommendation is maybe you try using the other tools, because all these four, right? What they are doing, right, is to adjust the uh, so-called tonality of the image, the lightness and shadow. Okay. So let's say for example, the rest of the tool is too hard for you to use, right? Just keep to level. Levels can do quite a wonderful fair bit of work also. Alright, let's say for example now we are about there. Okay, let's say for example you do not want to adjust anymore. You are quite happy with it. Okay, the next one. Can you see the face, right? Slightly grayscale, very gray. This one is brighten up, right? What can we do? Can we take the ellipse tool? Draw the ellipse. Okay, remember, right now selection mode, I can drag. But when I press Ctrl T, I cannot transform. Reason why is that inside the selection tool itself, right, I need to right click and then transform selection. Click here. Then I can adjust. Okay, hold on, yeah. Then I can adjust. You can use your arrows button on your keyboard also to nudge the circle up and down. Okay, adjust as close as possible as you want. This is just for illustration. Okay, let's say for example we are happy with that. Can we then, let's say for example within here itself, adjust the levels? Can you see what happened? Okay, let me just adjust the levels up slightly higher. Okay, deselect after that. All right, Control D to deselect. Let's say for example we switch this off. Notice what happened. So now this is my first image. All right, and then I adjust my overall so-called levels, right, which is this. Okay, then I adjust the face. So depending on the tools that you pick, right, You want to do it step by step. Okay, it don't have to be very similar to what I done here previously, because I cannot really remember what the preset was. But as long as you can get the right amount of tonal values, right amount of highlight, it's good. Yeah. Remember to save after you're done here, and then let's try the next image. Okay, same here. Let's control J, because why? Uh, we do not want to work on the original one. We want to work non-destructively. Okay. So what happened here, right? This is my, let's say for example, reference. Why reference? Let's say for example here, right? Let's take a square tool, Control X, and then open a new one, Control V, right? V to paste. Okay, so this one is what we are working on. So let me call it working file. And then I need one more, which is a white background. Okay, shortcut button G, and then alternate, right? G for the paint bucket. Make sure G, right? But take note, if it's on gradient, click on the paint bucket as the default G. Then within paint bucket itself, press alternate, right? Alternate will give you the eyedropper tool. Click, alright, it will select white and then drop. So you can see that now it dropped onto the layer which is highlighted. Okay, this one, let's just click on the lock button because we do not want to change. This one we don't want to change too. Lock it. Okay, now let's work on the working file. So within the working file itself, okay, so let me see. Okay, so here itself, you have a nice reflection here. Okay, this one itself, when you shoot at home, okay, now you have this light coming from the back, correct? Because why? You got this highlight. You want to keep some of this. Okay, so what's the fastest way that we can do inside here, right? Let me just take a look here. You have a lot of white here. You have this thing. Maybe the first thing that we want to try, right? Something fast without doing the without going to the pen tool. Let's try the eraser. Okay, before that, let me just select what I want to save using my polygonal tool. Okay, I want to save here. Let me switch off the other one. Okay, within your polygonal tool, if you remember, shift to add, alternate to minus. Okay, so now that we are selecting this, right? If we press the eraser tool, it will erase inside. We want to erase outside, Control Shift I. I for inverse. Then we can quickly just erase outside. Okay, so now that we've done this, right, let's try and see whether we can do something quite fast to this so-called image, right, and then get this sort of effect. Okay, let's do a quick erase first to get that feathery effect. Okay, so what I'm doing here, right, I'm just using my eraser tool, but notice it's not the best yet, but it does a good job at mask, so-called softening up, feathering up the edges. The next one, right, what we can do is that let's open our levels again, Control L. Okay, slight difference, but you can see right here, right? Can you see right here? Let's say for example I push it slightly up. Can I get more white? Okay, so that's all. Okay, so let's say for example now we have already touched the touch up. Can you see here what I'm doing? I'm just giving it more white. I can adjust the shades to give it slightly more darker tone. Okay, so let's say for example we want slightly off color here. What we can do, Control U for Ukraine. Maybe we can, how about we desaturate a bit the color so that it's not really too bright, meaning the when the light hit the shades, right, it's not too bright. We desaturate a bit, okay, to get that tortoise shell effect. Okay, then that is about right. Can you see? So that is something quite fast that you can do. Let's say for example you have slightly grayscale here, right? You can actually tweak it very fast to get, you can see, right, this is the shades itself. This is the original image placed on top of each other. I put my white background. It's quite good enough that it looks white. Yeah. So you can do something fast as that. Clean up the photos. Just make sure the initial photo that you took, right, get as much white background or white paper to cover. Or yeah, all right. So that later on, when we do post production, meaning when we work on the image on Photoshop, it's much easier. All right. Okay, let me just open up the layers. Do not forget to save this. Switch no. Okay, let's work on the next image. Okay, this one itself. Oops, sorry, just now I didn't cover masking and link layers. Okay, let's use link layers inside here. Okay, before that, again, Control J. Okay, switch this off. Let's take this off, because why? We already have this background. This will be our working file. Okay, the first thing, right? Now we use masking, because why? Okay, the reason why is that here we don't have any shadow. Previously, right, there is this nice effect here that we can keep. Now we want to clip away all these shadows. So uh we need a pen to mask it out. Alright. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to do something fast. Okay, bear with me for a while. Okay, those of you who cannot see your rubber band. Alright. Rubber band is here. So when you click on the rubber band itself, it works exactly like your AI pen tool. You can see uh, where all your uh, pen path is going. Sorry about that. Yeah. Let me just undo something fast. Okay, bear with me again. Okay. To remove the anchor point here, right, I can just press alternate and then minus it out. Okay. When you work with pen tool, as much as possible, keep your line work clean, meaning as less control point as possible. It's not like playing a video game where you go crazy clicking. All right. And then let's say for example, when you work on a curve like that, you want your anchor point, this one, pointing to the next direction you are going. Okay, then it will be helpful. It is so helpful because why? Then your lines will be, or your curve line will be tangent. Okay, we will cover that later on. Okay, close. In the event, let's say for example, your lines is not the one that you want, right? Always go to this selection tool. Do not pick path, go to direct. Inside direct itself, you can still select and then modify. Inside here, I can select and then use my arrow to nudge, meaning I can click here, right? I can nudge. Can you see? Shift and arrow will give you a nudge which is 10 scale bigger than what you have. Okay. The arrow itself, right, will give you a scale of 1 pixel. Alright. Sorry about that. Okay, let me see what else inside here. Okay, once you have your pen tool just about right, go to your path. Let's change this to the ice cream tab. The reason why, if you don't rename this, let's say for example, if you keep working on this, right, you might get confused because there's too many paths going on, and then sometimes this path, right, will override the current so-called path that you have. So it's just a good rule of thumb to name every single thing. So once you are here, right, go select your, right, do a quick selection. Then what you want to do is to select the layer. Oops. Make sure it's both 100. If not, it looks slightly transparent. Then within here itself, right, okay, notice normally we click this, right, to get that marching ant selection tool. Deselect. Okay. This time around, if we press layer mask here. Oops. Hold on, yeah. Let me just delete first. Apply layer mask before removal. Nope, delete. Okay, path. You need to do a quick selection. Once you do a quick selection, right, what you can do, go back to the layers here, and then you click the mask. Do you see what happened? Okay, let me just show you again. Okay, deselect, Control D to deselect. Go to your path. Click on the mouse. Sorry, not mouse. Click on the direct selection tool. There's no path here, right? You must click here. Now can you see the lines coming out? What you need to do next is to select the path and then click on this so-called load path as selection. Once you see the marching ants, okay, we call that marching ants, yeah. Go to the layers. Inside layers itself, you can use this selection as a mask. Then you press this button, it will directly mask it. Alright, try that. So now let's load the background. Okay, this portion might be a little bit confusing for you. Okay, if it's too confusing, right, what I do recommend is that to select here on the background, press Ctrl J so that I can switch off this. Because if not, you will keep looking at the same thing. Because why? Let me just switch off. Because I have this background and then I have this, which is clipped from this. So if I keep tweaking, right, you might not see changes at the background because why? We are working on the clip. Okay. So let me just switch on one more. Let me call this white BG for background. This one let me call reference. KG for paint bucket here. Make sure it's in paint bucket. Alternate to I drop and then let's drop the white inside here. Can you see it directly paint bucket and then cover the hole here, the gap here. Okay, next, what can we do here? Okay, let's just take a look. Same as per the previous images, I normally work with levels. So I will take out my levels first. Okay, notice what happened. they will adjust both, right? But I do not want to adjust both. I want to adjust just this working file. So what can I do is to link the layers. Press alternate when you are at the middle here. Can you see? Now I hover my mouse in the middle. There's this link layer button. Press it. Notice what happened. So now if I click adjust here, it will only adjust the working file and not the entire image or entire layers per se. So let's adjust levels. Can you see now it's adjusting quite fast and quite quick about that. Okay, too much. Bring this slightly up. Because why? Okay, we still want to get that. We still want to get that. Sorry, we still want to get that uh, text reference here. So what we can do, right? Okay, maybe this one, right? It's not the right tool, but it does work quite as what I wanted. Okay, nevertheless, let's play with other tools first. Let's go to the brightness and contrast. Okay, bring up the brightness. Same thing, right? Don't forget to press the alternate and then link it up first. So now you can adjust entirely the brightness and then the contrast. Okay, that is about quite what I like. Alright. So there are different few permutations that you can work with. Let's say for example now you quite like brightness and contrast. Can you then go to your layer mask, which is here? Okay. This might get confusing already, but just bear with me. So now I go to my brush tool. Okay. White, right? Currently okay, let me undo. Currently white layer mask shows every single thing. If I brush a black on top, can you see what happened? It shows or it reveals what's underneath, meaning it's masking it away. So let's say for example, if I have a mask which has a feather, yeah, can I then feather it and I capture what I want here? Okay, so that I can get that initial images that I have. Alright, mask it out. If it's too much, right, just undo or paint white over it. Okay, if it's too much, right, like what I'm doing here, it might get too cartoonish also. So yeah, in this tutorial itself, I cover link layers. I cover how to use link layers with masking and then with brush, right, how do you adjust. Okay, so do try. I did try this brightness and contrast. Let's say for example, I switch off. Let me work with uh, you can try curve. It's slightly difficult to play with. Let's say for example here, right? Okay, notice why right now I don't have to link, because why? It's already under the link mode here. Okay, let's say for example I need my brightness to be about here. Can I then drag something down to get that details? Slightly tougher, but once you understand how to work with curve, it can be quite powerful too. Okay, let me just show you one last one, which is the exposure. Okay, exposure, how it works, the same one. Take a look, it's link, right? That's why it's working on just one of the layers. Okay, so what exposure does is to adjust the whole entire exposure and the offset. Notice when your exposure go too much, right, some of the details it get lost also. So for me, as I mentioned, I work a lot with levels or just brightness and contrast, and then hue and saturation. So let's say for example inside here itself, if I notice my color is too rich, right, I can just press Ctrl U for the hue and saturation, and then I just play with my hue saturation to get it really rich or really desaturate until black and white. Okay, so maybe for this image, right, let me go back to 0 so that you can see the difference. Notice here itself, right, and then here and here, the ice cream, right, is much richer here rather than here. The glass, which I assume is maybe this rum liquor, right, it's quite dark and rich color. This is not. So what I can do, right, I can actually bring up this saturation up. All right, can you see? Okay, so this is the tutorials where I want to show you the tools of so-called masking with link layers and also adjustment layer inside. Three things inside there. Okay, don't forget to save. Let me just close this. Okay, the next one, chameleon. Okay, so right now you have a chameleon, and then this chameleon, right, is trying to blend with its background. Okay, so what can you do here? So now I have a chameleon. I have a background, right? So let's Control A, copy this first, or you can use your, hold on, yeah, my toolbar just pop up. Okay, so what I can do, right, I can just drag drop also inside here, depending on your preference lah. Copy paste also can, both works the same way. So what I want to do here, right, just drag first. It may look pixelated, but once you press, it's quite fine. Okay. So let's say for example now, for this tutorial, what I want to do, right, what I want to cover more is the layer style. Where can you find this layer style? Layer style is here. Let's say for example I darken. Can you see the so-called the image here, right, will then darken to the background, or the image here itself, right, can multiply with the background. It works the same. Multiply and darken are quite similar in terms of treatment. I can use the color, right, as a screen. Screen will lighten up. Okay, and then I can also use as overlay. It's laying over the this color background onto the image itself. Okay, there's a few things that you can play with. Do try. Each different layer style will give you something quite different. For now, right, we want to try maybe using colors. Can you see colors, right? It makes the chameleon trying to blend with the background. Trying right now, it's still trying. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Yeah, there's a few things that can be done here as well. Okay, but before that, we need to mask this guy out, right? Okay, let me show you a quick tool on how to create a path. Oops. Okay, my tolerance now is too small. Let's increase tolerance to 30. Okay, not point sample size. Hold on, yeah. Oops. Okay, no wonder I can't, because why? Whatever that I'm selecting now, right, is selecting the um okay, whatever I'm selecting now is selecting the sorry, yeah. Hold on. Whatever I'm selecting now is selecting the colored background, which is this. I need to select the chameleon. So go back to the chameleon itself. Go back to magic wand. Okay, so now when you select, right, can you see now it's selecting the chameleon outside? Can you see? Right now it captures most of the details. Even here. Okay, let's control D. Maybe it's too much. Let's try a 20. Okay, select. Yep, this is quite about right also for me. Okay, don't forget to select all those. Press shift, select those all inside. Okay. So let's say for example now I have this, right? Let's say I press Ctrl J. It will not copy the chameleon. Okay. Reason why? Because it's selecting the inverse, the white. To switch the selection, right? To inverse the selection. Okay. You can always right click select inverse, or you can Ctrl Shift I to inverse. So let's say for example once you inverse it out, right? Can we then do a quick mask? Okay, hold on. So now we missed one. Let's say for example if we bring this guy at the bottom here, right? Change to normal. Okay, notice the chameleon now here. Okay, this guy here is not selected inside the mask. So what I can do, okay, hold on, yeah. If I press this, right, notice it will give me another one more mask. I do not want that. Keep it clean. Just one mask will do. Delete. Work on this. Click on this layer mask. Press B for brush. And then brush it over. Switch it off. Okay. So right now the chameleon is trying to blend with this background, right? So we need to mask out the tree bark. So how can we do that? Let's switch off this background again. Let's use the quick selection. Okay. Let's do the quick selection. Okay, hold on. Let me just show you another tool. Okay, magic wand will select, right? If I press shift, it will keep on selecting what I want, which is this one. And then it will try to select. Sometimes you can work with quick selection tool. Quick selection, right, will work similar to a brush. You can see that now it select the whole branch there. If I press select, right, it will select too much. Okay. Can you see? So right now, what I'm doing, right, is I'm just pressing shift and then slowly adding it in. If it's too much, try to minus it out. Maybe you need to go slightly smaller and then minus it out again. Okay, about quite right. Okay, press shift again. Let's select this portion. Another way, right? You don't have to press shift because why? It's already in a plus mode. Okay, select, slightly smaller. Select, select, select. Okay, zoom in a bit so that you can capture the details. Select. Okay, zoom out. Okay. Inside here itself, right? There's one way we can do it is to one is to Control J, meaning we duplicate the branch, so that when we duplicate the branch, we can select this guy and then we can so-called blend the. Okay, hold on. We can then overlay. Oops, hold on. Where's my color? Okay. You can try different so-called tools. Alright, notice that now the bug is not blend. Right now we are trying to blend the chameleon only. Okay. So if it's okay, hold on, yeah. Let me just switch back to normal. Okay. Another way around, let's say for example, we can press Ctrl J again. Bring one on top. Because why? We want to keep the tonal layer, tonal value of this, the highlights and the shadow. If you don't do that right, it kind of get really very flat from this picture. Can you see? So let's just leave this as normal. We copy another layer of the color mode, sorry, of the color background. Okay, let me just do all color background. This one, color background effects, chameleon, branch. Okay, remember to rename all your files. Okay, now see these effects, right? Let's say for example, if I put the color as the effects, notice the chameleon is not really flat. There's still the tonal value captured. All right. If let's say for example your color background is affecting in the way, let's say for example, let's take the screen. Where's the screen? Where's my screen? All right. Okay, let's say for example now, right, it's affecting too much. We can also duplicate this mask and then apply to the color background also if you want to. Okay. Oops, too much. Sorry, this one's supposed to be normal. What I'm referring to, right? Okay, wait, let me just double check. Normal, normal. Okay, this one let me change to screen. Can you see? Let's say for example, if I switch this to screen, it's affecting every single thing, right? I can take this mask. I can hold on, yeah. Oh, I can copy this mask. Hold on. Then I can, yeah. Okay, disable, create clipping mask. Okay, hold on. I need to click. Okay, another way, right? Okay, the easiest way. I cannot find the button, but the easiest way, right, is to press alternate. What alternate does, right? It would. Can you see now? It's dragging that mask and then applying directly here, so that this here itself, right? There is a mask happening here. For every masking, the same thing. You can actually unlink the mask and then you can move the picture under undo or move the mask. Okay, just to show you something new. Yeah. Okay, let's change this to color again. Yep. So maybe about that will do, because why, the chameleon, even though all right, maybe color is not right. Yeah. Let me see what else. Overlay. Yep. Soft light. Yeah. Oops. So hold on. Yeah. Nope. Let's just switch with colors. All right. So try all the layer blend. See what effects it can give you. Okay. Once finished, save. Okay. This one. All right. This tutorial, right, is from Design Tools. All right. Design Tool is this one. Yeah. Design tutorial. It's a good tutorial. Okay. I'm going to copy paste the links for you to try. There is also a video recording also. Okay. You can see, right? Let's say for example, this one itself. So what it's trying to do is trying to crop the crocodile, bring it inside the frog layer, And then after that, right, it's trying to clone so-called the I out. And then what it's trying to do now, right, is trying to erase and then start to merge the, or I would say try to uh, erase and then make the skin closer to the form of the body. Okay, color balance. Color balance, similar to the hue and saturation, you can tweak the overall colors. Alright. So here itself is trying to dodge. What dodge does, right, is try to lighten it up. Burn is trying to darken it up. And then you get this. Okay, there is a video tutorial too. For those of you who wants to just listen to my tutorial too, you can also just continue and watch. Alright. So what I'm going to do now, right? Let's say I have this. Alright. Normally I will teach you using lasso tool, right? So let's say for example now we use quick mask. Press Q for quick mask. You can see here, right? It changed to quick mask. B for brush. Okay, inside here itself, right? Let me change the brush mode to this. Okay, let's say we brush mode maybe up to about here. Okay. Bear with me for a while. I'm just going to show you quick one. How do you mask using brush tool? Okay, make sure you get all the selection that you need using the black, so-called black brush. Make sure it's 100% also, because if it's not, if it's grayscale, it will just select 50% of the value. Brush all. Okay, once done, right, press Q. Q will exit. Okay, notice right now it's selecting outside, right? If I press Ctrl Shift I, it will then select inside. If I then click on my arrow, I bring to my frog. That's it. Okay. So right now here, right? Let's switch now the opacity slightly lower so that when we press Ctrl T for transform, we can then adjust. Okay. Let me bring the transparency slightly higher a bit so that I can start to see. Okay. Maybe about, okay, hold on, yeah. Let me just bring it slightly up. Yeah, maybe about there. Okay, so the next one, what? Oops, wrong one. Hold on. My Chrome is not working well with me. Come on. Alright. So now that we already copy paste into the frog layer itself. So right now it's asking to clone. Right. So what I can do is that, okay, something wrong with this. Hold on, yeah. Let me just delete this. Let me take a look at the image again. Okay, let me try Ctrl C and then paste it over. Okay, let me try again to zoom down. Okay, slightly better, little bit, yeah. Yeah. Alright, clone stem. Okay, let me just clone stem this over. Alright, can you see? So now I'm just trying to clone it up. Okay. So what's next? The tutorial asks, okay, maybe we need to start to erase more. Let's bring our, rather than we erase, right? Let's do a mask. Okay, because why? When we erase, we are working destructively, right? Because why? We cannot get back what we want. So let's say, for example, if we do a accidental erase, can we then inverse the brush to get what we want it back? Okay, so that's the exercise. Always be very comfortable with masking. Okay. So bear with me for a while. Let me just get. Hold on. Okay, let me inverse that. Let me get what I want about here. Okay, start to brush it out. Okay, it's too small to brush it out here, so we just going to go through roughly only. Okay, it's better to mask out in the original image itself because right, it's slightly big. It's bigger than this. Right, the resolution is also bigger. Okay, just do something fast. Okay, maybe this one is a little bit too much for me. Yeah, let me just do a quick brushing here. Right. Okay, so the next one, maybe we want it slightly softer here. Using the brush with a feather effect. And then still in my masking mode, let me just brush the side so that it's not uh, too strong at the edges here. Okay, let me just change my brush mode again. And then let me just tidy up this side here, this corner here. Alright, let me open up the image again. So now that we have that, we erase already the edges. Okay, color balance. Alright, so where do you get that color balance? Oops, hold on. Make sure you're selecting the frog back again. Color balance. Alright, there you have it, color balance. Okay, how color balance work here? Because it's adjustment layer also. Notice if I change cyan, every single thing change to cyan or change to red. What you need to do is to press alternate here and then link it back. Okay, so once you are here, right? Okay, let me just do a quick check. So it's slightly cyan, a little bit more yellow. So let's go cyan a little bit more of the yellow. Alright, it's looking quite good because right now we are trying to match this over to here. Okay, the scales are also trying to, alright, quite close already. Yeah. Okay, hold on, let me go back. Okay, eraser we done already. Dodge and burn. Alright, let me show you where the dodge and burn is. Okay, where is the dodge and burn? Hold on. Here, this is dodge, this is burn. Okay, what dodge does, right? Let me just switch. Okay, can you see? Okay, you can't see from there, right? Okay, can you see what happened? It lighten up. Can you see? It totally lighten up. Let me just undo. Okay, let me just go back to the reference itself. So right now it's trying to uh, dodge. Okay, trying to dodge the top and the side here, because why? There's light here, right? Then there's light here. So what we can do, dodge this side, dodge this side. Okay, and then burn tool, we can start to burn so-called edges. Burn will darken. So let's say for example here you can see, right, it's totally darken up. So depending on the image, all right, let's say for example I want to darken up a bit around the eyes. Okay, darken up a bit at these edges here. Darken up a bit here. Oops, too much. It will then look very, very weird. Okay, darken here, because why? The form, right, or the arm. Okay, there's a slight fold here. Okay, let me just darken the inside of the mouth. Alright, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it's all in the details next. Okay, so do try it. It's quite fast. Yeah. So for this tutorial by Design Tools, right? It's a good starting point for you to learn how to morph different image to visualize something new. Okay. Upcoming assignment, right? When you start to morph objects and plants, objects and animal, make sure that the object and the animal is looking or pointing at the same direction. It helps lah. All right. And then the texture, as I mentioned, try to find something complementing. That is so much easier for you to. Okay. Don't forget to save. And then we are quite done. All right. So that's all for tutorial 2A's. Okay. Finish up. If you have question, troubleshooting, we can always do it in class.